Hello everyone. So in this class we are going to discuss about how to design a singly reinforced beam. So as this is the first class for designing, so we will be discussing about different codal provisions along with the problem. So let's look at the problem. A rectangular reinforced concrete beam located outside a building of a coastal town. A simply supported and which is okay. So a rectangular reinforced concrete beam located outside a building in a coastal town is simply supported on two 230 thick support. Okay, 230 thick support and 6 meter apart masonry walls. Okay, which is center to center. That means there is a building in a coastal town, and outside of this building we have a beam which is simply supported over two walls. Okay, suppose these are two walls and it is simply supported, and the span is 6 meter center to center of the wall. That means the center of the wall to center of this wall, the center to center distance is 6 meter. That is what given, 6 meter apart center to center. The beam has to carry, in addition to its own weight, a distributed live load of 10 kilonewton per meter and a dead load of 5 kilonewton per meter. So dead load is here 5 kilonewton per meter and live load is there 10 kilonewton per meter. Design the beam section for maximum moment at the midspan, assuming Fe415 grade of steel. So this is the problem. These data are available. So we have to design. So let's go into detail of this drawing, of this design. So the first thing that we need to consider is, what about the grade of concrete? Okay, so let's see. Consider the grade of concrete. See here. So what are the different clauses of IS 456 which governs the grade of concrete that we need to know? So the idea of designing is that you have a beam of 6, you know that the span is 6 meter, you know its condition, it's in coastal town outside of a building and it's simply supported and it has to carry this kind of load. So you have to design a beam which can withstand this condition, that is where it's in a coastal region, it has a live load of 10 kilonewton, dead load of 5 kilonewton per meter, as well as it has to be supported over a wall of 230 thick. So these are the conditions. So you should design a beam which has certain cross section and certain numbers of bars, and this section should be able to withstand these conditions. Okay, the only thing is given that grade of steel is given. Suppose this grade of steel is easily available at that market. Okay, so this grade of steel is easily available, so we are using Fe415. So because the grade of steel you are going to take, it might be because of the availability as well as the requirement. Okay, means from the load perspective. Okay, now, so what is the, now as the grade of concrete is not given, so we have to assume it. So now how to consider, how to assume the grade of concrete, whether whether to take M20 or M30 or M35. So how to consider? So to consider this, we have certain clauses. So let's look into these clauses. So you will get the first clause that is important is clause 8.2.2. This is for the exposure condition. What do you mean by exposure condition? Exposure condition means the concrete that you are making, what is the environment condition? Suppose you are constructing a building in a in a dry area. Suppose in Rajasthan, okay, as well as you are constructing a building in Assam, okay. One building you are constructing in Rajasthan, and one building you are constructing in Assam. Now the environment of Rajasthan as well as Assam are not the same. In Rajasthan you will be having very dry or very high temperature, very dry weather, as well as in Assam we have a very humid weather, right? And the rainfall intensity is very high in Assam, whereas Rajasthan the rainfall can very low. So, so the grade of concrete, or suppose you are constructing in Goa. In Goa, suppose in coastal region you are constructing. So in that case, there will be constant. If the house is very near to sea, there will be constant exposure to the spraying of water, means the sea water probably. And sea water, you know that is salty. It has some salt, so it might react with the concrete. So there is a probability. Suppose you are constructing in a area where soil is very alkaline in nature or very acidic in nature. In that case, that alkalinity or acidity will affect your building, right? So this kind of conditions, exposure conditions, are you need to take into account. Okay, so in is code is 456, this particular clause 8.2.2, you will see that this is the exposure conditions. Okay, so generally there are 5 exposure conditions that are given in the is code. So let's see this exposure conditions. So the first condition is mild. You can see it's written here: concrete surface protected against weather or aggressive condition except those situated in coastal areas. So if it is not in coastal area, and if it is protected against weather or aggressive conditions, if it is protected, suppose you are constructing in, suppose in Assam, and if the particular member is suppose in the inside of a building, okay, suppose a beam which is inside a building, it's not outside, and which is protected from sun, protected from wind, protected from rain, in that case you can consider that particular exposure condition as to be very mild. Then moderate. So what are the conditions? The concrete surface sheltered from severe rain and freezing whilst wet. Concrete exposed to condensation and rain. Concrete continuously under water. Concrete in contact or buried under non-aggressive soil or groundwater, and concrete surface sheltered from saturated salt air in coastal area. So if this kind of conditions you are experiencing in your concrete, in your structure, then this particular exposure condition you will call it as moderate. Suppose it's written continuously in underwater. Suppose you are making a bridge spire or a well foundation in a river. In that case, the condition is continuously the river is a freshwater supply, so you will not be able, means there is no need for considering the coastal or the seawater condition. So here you can say that it's a moderate kind of exposure condition. Or if the saturated salt air in coastal areas, means if the building is not very near to the sea, only the effect that you can encounter is, suppose the saturated air containing the salt air of coastal area, then you can consider that exposure condition as to be moderate. Then severe. In case of severe, you can see concrete surface exposed to severe rain, that is severe rain, alternate wetting and drying, or occasional freezing, whilst wet and severe condensation. So suppose there is a freezing condition is there, and heavy rainfall is there, and concrete completely immersed in seawater. Suppose it is completely immersed in seawater and concrete exposed to coastal environment. Suppose there is a spraying of water from the coastal areas. In that case, you can consider it to be severe. And very severe concrete surface exposed to seawater spray, corrosive fumes, and severe freezing conditions. Concrete in contact with or buried under aggressive subsoil that get very severe. An extreme surface of members in tidal zone, members in direct contact with liquid, solid, aggressive chemicals, etc. In that case, it will be extreme. So this kind of exposure condition are given in the IS code. Okay, and according to the exposure conditions, there are a table number 5. You can see what are the different grade you should use. Suppose for plain concrete, for mild, you can use any grade. For moderate, you can use M15. For severe, you can use M20. It's for plain concrete where reinforcements are not there. Reinforcements are not there. But in case of reinforced concrete, for mild exposure, you can use the minimum grade you have to use is M20. This is here, it is written here, minimum grade of concrete. For moderate, you have to use M25 minimum. Severe, it is M30. Very severe, M35. Extreme is M40. Okay, probably you have used this table while you were studying about mixed design. Okay, so depending upon the condition, you can choose the minimum grade of concrete. So it will help us to find out what grade we are going to use. So in our condition, the beam is outside of a building in a coastal area. Okay, so that means there is a probability that it will be having say seawater exposure might be there in the building. Okay, so you can consider that it might be moderate or severe depending upon knowing the exactly what is the condition of the structure. Okay, so let us assume that the condition of this particular structure or the member as it is outside the building. If the beam would have been inside the building, I would have considered it as moderate, because it's written that it is only if the concrete surface shelter from saturated salt air of coastal area, then it is moderate. But severe, you can say that concrete exposed to coastal environment, so you can say that the beam is outside, so it will be directly exposed to the coastal environment. So we are assuming that the environment condition is severe. Okay, so if severe, then the grade of concrete, minimum grade of concrete, you should use M30. That means you can use M35 or M40, but minimum you have to use M30. You cannot use M20 there. Okay, now, so as for our condition, we are assuming that we are in severe condition, so M30 you have to use. Okay, but for our safety purpose, because we are now designing, it's your in your hand that whether what grade of concrete you are going to use. So suppose for better performance, we are opting a higher grade, that is M35 grade. Okay, so you can see the grade of concrete that we are assuming is M35. Now what is the clear cover? So I have already discussed with you what is clear cover. If this is the beam, if this is the beam and these are the reinforcement, then the distance from the surface of the beam to the soffit, this is clear cover. Okay, this is clear cover. Effective cover will be to the center of the reinforcement. This is effective cover, right? So the clear cover we have assumed 40 mm, but how to choose the clear cover? So what is the basically the reason behind the provision of providing the clear cover? To because so that the concrete or the reinforcement doesn't get exposed to the environment. So that is the condition for providing the cover. So as you know that our condition is very severe condition that we are using. So the reinforcement, in that case, if reinforcement get exposed, then there is a more probability of corrosion of reinforcement. So we need to provide a better clear cover for this kind of concrete. Okay, and what kind of cover you have to provide? So for that, there is a table 16. You can see here, for mild the concrete cover in mm should be 20. It should not be less than 20. For moderate it is 30. For severe it is 45. So for our case we are assuming severe, so the clear cover should be 45. Okay, and very severe it is 50, extreme it is 75. But there are certain notes that you can see here. The first note is that the main reinforcement up to 12 diameter bar for mild exposure, the nominal cover may be reduced by 5 So if the condition is exposure condition is mild, then we can reduce it by 5 if the diameter of the bar is less than 12 Okay, if it is less than 12 in that case we can reduce the cover by 5 unless specified otherwise. Actual concrete cover should not deviate from the required nominal cover by plus 10 to 0. That means you can increase it by 10 if from this value, but you cannot reduce it. So it is 0 written here, 10 and 0, you can see here 10 and 0. And for extreme exposure condition, for exposure condition severe and very severe, reduction of 5 may be made where concrete grade is M35 and above. If grade of concrete is more than M35 and above, you can reduce the cover by 5 So the idea means while we are choosing M30, because M35 is for very severe, but our condition is severe, so it's for severe M30 is required. So one idea behind selecting M35 is that so that we can reduce the clear cover by 5 so that I can use this particular node and I can reduce the clear cover, because there is a problem of providing higher clear cover. So for now you can see that we have used for though it is severe condition, we are using a higher grade of concrete, that is M35. But for M35 as we have selected M35, so we can reduce the as for severe we need 45 clear cover, right? But it is written that if it is 35 or M35 or more, we can reduce it by 5 so clear cover becomes, we can assume, we can take clear cover as 40 The reason behind this sticking to 40 is that, so if you increase the clear cover, if it is more than 40 if it is more than 40 then special some considerations or special provisions should be made so to reduce the risk of spalling. So what is spalling basically? The spalling is, suppose you have a concrete beam and you have some reinforcements. In that case, if this cover is more, then what will happen? Then there might, in certain case, what might happen? The concrete might come out, as there is nothing to hold this concrete. Okay, only the grade of concrete or the strength of the concrete is there, or that is holding this particular 40 or 45 whatever clear cover you're providing. So there is nothing to hold this particular concrete. The concrete behind or inside this particular beam are actually held by stirrups and all, right? You can remember, if you can remember, the beam cross section looks like something like this. We have top reinforcement, we have bottom reinforcement, then we have stirrups, right? So the concrete in this area is core concrete, so it is actually held by this particular stirrup and this reinforcement, but outside this is not held by anything. So if its thickness is more, then there is a probability of spalling or the concrete might come off. Okay, so this condition should be avoided. So that is the reason behind actually to consider M35 but not M30, so that I can use this particular node and I can reduce from M45 to M40. Okay, so you can see a table is there in IS 16a, table 16a. In that table you can see that it is already written that if it is more than 40, then special provisions should be made. Special provisions like false cover or that kind of painting or some other provisions should be made, so that the spelling can be avoided. Okay, so if the spelling is there, then clear cover is not efficient, then in that case corrosion might occur. There will be no because of what we have provided, the clear cover will not be fulfilled. Okay, so that particular thing that you have to consider. So considering all of this, finally we can choose the grade of concrete that we have assumed is M35, which is as per table 5, as well as FCK, that means FCK is M35, and clear cover that we have assumed is 40 mm from table 16 of IS 456. Always remember, so in while you will be solving this problem in exam, then though no need to, means obviously you will not be able to snap these figures, but the thing is you always have to mention the reference, means from where you have got this, from which table or which clause you have found this. So this particular thing we have got it from table 5, this particular clear cover we have got it from table 16, exposure condition we have got it from table 3. So this mention the references you always have to mention while you are designing. Okay, so you have understood this part. So we have considered the exposure condition severe, grade of concrete M35, and clear cover 40 mm, and the respective clauses for this particular consideration. Then let's go to the next. Yeah, I was talking about the table 16a. You can see for beams simply supported, if 40, a line is drawn, a solid line is written. Cases that lie below the bold line require attention to the additional measures necessary to reduce the risk of spalling, which is mentioned in clause number 21.3.1. So if it is more than 40 mm, then we need to consider some special provision. So I don't want to go into that. That is why I'm trying to restrict the clear cover in 40 mm. Okay, also this 40 mm also take care of fire resistance also. Okay, the clear cover has another advantage or another purpose of providing clear cover is that to fire resist. Okay, fire resistance. So there is two basically two reasons why we provide clear cover. One is to prevent the corrosion of reinforcement, as well as to protect the structure from fire hazards. Okay, so these two tables are very important. Now let's see the next. So first, before going to calculate, or in the equation itself, you have seen that the beam is carrying self weight, right? It's mentioned that it, along with the self weight, it has some dead load and live load. So self weight is there. Now the case is the beam dimension is not given to you. So what is the beam dimension, what is the b, what is the width, what is the depth, is not given to you. Those things are not given to you. So you have to first assume the dimensions, then you have to check whether those dimensions are adequate to that particular conditions, or whether that particular dimension can able to take the load that is coming to the structure. So the first thing that you need to do, you have to assume the dimension, then we have to calculate the load. It's like the going reverse. Okay, because here we are designing, we are not given with the dimension, or the section is not given, the section properties are not given to you. It is up to you how you are going to find out what dimension will be required for this particular load condition or exposure condition, or this all those conditions. Considering all those conditions, what is the perfect or the required dimension is, or required dimension for this particular beam. Okay, so for this, first of all, we are going to assume the section. So that is why it's, you can see trial section. The next section is trial section. So that the first, for that, let us assume that the dimension, the width is b. B is 300 mm. Suppose the width of the beam, suppose this is the beam, the width is 300 mm. Okay, generally beam dimensions varies from 250 to 350 or whatever, depending upon the load. You can go on increasing the B, so but minimum you can stick to 250. You can take more than that. And generally 300 is in general we use 300 mm. Okay, and depth. So how to choose the depth? So it is a generally thumb rule. This is a thumb rule. It's not a very specific rule. It's just a from the designer's perspective. It's just a thumb rule that we can use. So if you take the ratio of the span divided by 10, you will get whatever thickness you will get, that you assume to be the depth of the section. It's just a thumb rule. Okay, so if, as you know, that the span is 6 meters, so 6000 mm divided by 10, so it comes out to be 600 mm. So the depth of the section we assume to be 600 mm and the width is 300 mm. So that is one reference that you can refer while selecting the trial section. Okay, yes, another thing I just forgot to tell you, the clause 2021.3.1, that clause about the spelling, that clause is this one. You can read it here. The additional measures such as application of fire resistant finishes, provisions of fire resistance false ceilings, and sacrificial steel in tension zones shall be adopted in case of nominal cover required exceeds 40 mm for beam and 35 mm for slab, as given, to give protection against spalling. Okay, so this is what I was talking about. So this is the clause. Okay, so now let's come back to the depth. So the depth of the section can be also find out from another clause 23.2.1. This is for finding out the depth. So you can see that if the beam in a beam, if you can see, if the depth is more, then the deflection gets reduced. Okay, if you take a very large depth beam where I modulus of inertia, it becomes higher because it is bd cubed by 12, right? So as the depth increases, the depth is more, or depth increases, the modulus of inertia increases, so deflection decreases. Okay, so for from deflection perspective we were considering, then always you should have a larger depth so that you can reduce the deflection. So depending upon the deflection criteria, which is also serviceability criteria, depending upon that, there is a clause 23.2.1, and which is the vertical deflection, the whatever vertical deflection you will get, limits may generally be assumed to be satisfied provided that the span to depth ratio not greater than the values obtained as below. The basic value of span to depth ratio for span up to 10 meter, if the span is up to 10 meters, so we have a span of 6 meters, so it is okay. So for cantilever it is 7, that is span to depth ratio. Okay, span to effective depth, that is small d, it should be equal to 7 up to this value. That means span to depth ratio should be basically less than 7. Okay, or for cantilever, this is for cantilever. For simply supported beam, span to depth ratio should be less than 20, and for continuous span to depth ratio should be less than 26. Okay, so this criteria can also be used to assume the depth of the section, as span is already known. So for our case, simply supported, so it is 20, it should be less than 20. So span is 6 meter for us, so 6000 divided by d should be less than 20. Okay, so or you can say d should be greater than 6000 by 20, and it will give you 300 mm. So d should be more than 300 mm. So for our case we are using 600 mm. So for design purpose, basically you can consider this condition or this condition also. This is a trial section. Okay, so because anything that you can choose, but the thing is, whatever you are going to choose, you have to verify that, or you have to prove that the depth or the width that you have chosen satisfied the conditions that those are given to you. That means for our case it's a simply supported beam with certain loads, and whatever depth we are assuming, that should satisfy or that should be able to take this that particular load being in a simply supported beam. Okay, so for your case you can just this simple problem, this simple equation or a thumb rule you can use, just divide by 10 whatever depth you are getting, you just assume it to be the depth. Okay, so now also let us assume that the for the beam 16 as the main dia bars and 8 as stirrups. Okay, so why is that? So because we need to find out the effective depth, right? So if you remember, effective depth is up to the center of the reinforcement. So now look at this particular section here. This is 300 okay, and this is we have assumed as to be 600 Now if you want to find out the effective depth is up to this one, that is at the center of this. So what is this effective depth? Capital D is 600. So what is the effective? You need to find out what is the effective cover, right? What is effective cover? So effective cover is the clear cover plus we have a stirrup. So what is the diameter of the stirrup? Dia of stirrups plus half of dia of the bar, because up to this height we are trying to find out. So half of dia of main bar. So which is for clear cover we are assuming 40, dia of the stirrup we have assumed as 8 dia, so it is 8 plus half of the dia of the main bar we are assuming 16 Okay, this is just assumption, so we will see that it will change in the later state of the design. So to it 16 by 2, so it will come out to be total 8, so it is 56 This is the effective cover. So what will be the, so this is what you can see, this is the effective cover. So what is the effective depth? It is overall depth minus effective cover, and it will give you 544 So this is the effective cover that we have assumed. So this is a trial section. We are going to check whether this condition or whether this depth is sufficient or not for our movement and all. Okay, so this is the effective depth, this is the overall depth, this is the width that we have assumed. So from where, and these are the certain things that you can refer to while finding out the depth of the beam. Okay, now let's go to the next page. Now the thing is, if you remember, what is the equation for moment? To find out the moment or bending moment, the equation for simply supported beam is WL square by 8, right? WL square by 8. So what is L? L is the length or the span. Now there is a question. Suppose you have a beam. So this is the beam. It's a 3D beam, and we have support over here, and the support width is 230 This is 230 right? And it's given that from center to center of the support we have a span of 6 meter. Now the thing is, while finding out the bending moment, you know that the equation is WL square by 8. So what is L? L is the span. Now my question is, what should be the span? Whether it should be 6 meter, that is from center to center, or it should be the clear distance, that will be how much? 6000 minus 230 by 2 minus 230 by 2, that is basically 230, or this one. This is a clear span, that is from the face of the support to this face of the support. 6 meter is from center of the support to the center of this support. So if we're asking for span or this L square, what should be the L? whether this should be 6 meter from center to center of this clear span or something else, or maybe from outside to the outside, which should the length, because you will get different length. So what length should be taken? So for that you have to find out the effective length. What should be the length that we are going to consider? So for that, that is a clause that is 22.2 IS 456. So let's see what this particular clause says. The effective span, unless otherwise specified, if it's not specified, in that case you will go for this particular clauses. The effective span of a member shall be as follows: simply supported beam or slab. The effective span of a member that is not built integrally with the support, that means for our case, which is we have a simply supported beam, shall be taken as clear span plus the effective depth. Okay, first condition is clear span plus effect. Okay, let me show here: clear span plus the effective depth. Okay, first condition is that should be taken as clear span plus effective depth of the slab or the beam, or the center to center of the support, whichever is less. So there is two conditions. So from these two conditions, whichever lesser value you are getting, that should be taken as effective depth. So first condition is clear span plus the effective depth. So clear span, that means what? Just now I have shown you, if this is the beam and this is the support, then a clear span means from the face of the support, inner face of the support, to the other inner face of the support. This is the clear span. There is nothing in between. So it is the clear span. So clear span plus effective depth, that is one condition. Another one is center to center. When whichever is less, that should be taken as effective depth, effective span. So you can see that center to center is already given, that is 6 meter. And what is clear span? Clear span will be this one, the center to center minus the support width. You can see this is the beam, and from center to center you are getting, this is the center, this is the center. So if you are finding out the clear span, it should be how much? The LC, that is the from center to center minus half of this footing, half of this support minus half of this support, that means total support, that is 230. So LCC minus support width. Okay, that is with a clear span. So LCC minus support width plus the effective, that is written clear span plus the effective depth. So effective depth is D, and which will give you 6.314 meter. Okay, so this is the one condition, center to center and clear span plus the effective depth. So whichever is less, so here we are getting 6 and 6.3.14, 6.314. So this is less, so effective span you are going to consider as 6 meter. Okay, so this is the effective span, and which is as per clause 22.2. Now let's go for design calculations. Now we will go for design calculations, because we have now the specific length or equivalent, the effective length you have, as well as you have the uh, dimension of the beam. So now we can go for calculation of the self weight. So the self weight becomes, you already know what is the density of concrete, this 25 kilonewton per meter cube, B, that is width, into the overall depth. So it will give you the self weight is 4.5 kilonewton per meter. You have already know this. And total dead load will be how much? The self weight is a dead load, plus in the question itself will given that it has another dead load of 5 kilonewton per meter. So total dead load becomes 9.5 kilonewton per meter, as well as live load is given 110 kilonewton per meter. So the total design load becomes, so as this case only dead load and live load are available, so which combination you are going to use? We are going to use this combination, 1.5 plus or 1.5. okay, so that means 1.5 dead load plus live load. This particular condition we are going to use. So 1.5 dead load plus 1.5 live load, that will give you 29.25 kilonewton per meter. So this is the design load. With this load we are going to design. Okay, this is our design load. Now let's find out what is the maximum moment. Now the case thing is, you should remember what is the BMD of a simply supported beam. with an UDL. So suppose this is the beam, simply supported beam with UDL. So you know that the maximum moment or moment diagram is something like this, at the with maximum moment at the center, and this value is WL square by 8. So the thing is, the beam will be having different moment at different location, right? So at this moment is different, at this moment is different, at this moments are different. Now if you design for the maximum moment, if you take care of this maximum moment, then obviously for other section it will be safe. So that is why we are trying to find out what is the maximum moment for this particular loading condition. That particular criteria, or that will be the critical case. Okay, this is a critical case. So if you take care of this critical condition, the other condition will be automatically taken care of, right? So this is the maximum moment, so we have to take care of this moment. So that is why we are finding out the maximum design moment, which is WL effective square by 8, and which come out to be 131.625 kilonewton meter. This is the maximum design moment. This is the design moment. This is not working moment or service moment. This is a design moment. Okay. With this, we are going to proceed with our design. Also, we can find out the shear force. So what is the shear force equation? It is WL by 2, and this is the equation, and this is the value you'll get, 87.75. So this is the shear SFD, and this is the BMD. You already know that this is WL square by 8, and this is WL by 2. This is WL by 2. You already know all these things, right? So we have calculated this one, and maximum value of the shear force WL by 2. We will see that. We will see how we are going to use. Now the thing is, the effect of bending moment. The effect of bending moment, or the moment, is the deflection. Because of moment, the beam will deflect, and because of the application of the moment, or this moment, the beam will deflect, and for that case, compression will be at the top and tension will be at the bottom. And as you know that concrete is weak in tension, so we have to give some reinforcement to take care of this tension. And this, how much reinforcement is required, that is actually the design, and what should be the dimension to take care of this particular moment. So that our main objective is to take care of this two things, this maximum moment, the moment 131.625 kilonewton meter, this moment, and this shear force. You will see that shear force calculation will be different a little bit, but for now you think that you have to take care of this moment. This is your prime motto, or the prime objective of this problem. You have to take care of this moment. You have to design something which will be able to take this moment. Okay, now let's go to the other thing. Now we have done all our basic calculations. We have find out what is the grade of concrete. We have used M35. The grade of steel is Fe415, right? Then we have found out what is the effective depth. Then we have found out what is effective length, L effective. These things we have found out, and also we have found out the what is moment and what is shear force. These things we have calculated. This is the main calculation you have to do before going for design. Okay, these are the things that you should know. After knowing these things, after or finalizing or considering these values, we can go for design. So now the main design things will come. Okay, now the first thing is just check for effective depth. That means, if you remember that we have assumed D as 600 mm just from an empirical equation, which is span by 10. This empirical equation we have used to find out the depth. Now the thing is, whether this effective or whether this depth is okay, because we have got an effective depth of 544 probably, right? 544 mm. So whether it is effective, that is okay, or it is sufficient to take care of the moment. So you have to check the effective depth. The first thing that you need to check is check for effective depth. Now let's see the check for effective depth. So for this, the Fe415 grade of steel we are using, you know that. So for Fe415, what is the XU limit? XU by D limit, just in the previous class we have discussed, XU by D limit is 0.48. For Fe500 it is 0.46. For Fe250 it is 0.53, right? So for Fe415 we have 0.48, so this is 0.48. okay. Now what is the mu limit? That is, what is the maximum moment it can take? The mu limit equation can be written as, you have already seen that it is 0.36 fck bd square xu limit by d 1 minus 0.42 xu. You can find out in nx. You can find out is nxz. In nxz of IS code you can find out this equation. 0. And also I have already discussed with you how this equation, particular equation, has been derived. Okay, so this is 0.36 fck bd square xu by d minus 1 minus 0.42 xu by d, and I would suggest you to remember this particular equation. The thing is, this equation, if you put the value of xu by d as 0.48, it can be simplified to this equation, that is 0.138 fck bd square. It becomes a very simple equation. You can remember this equation. It will help you to speed up your process of design. Okay, it is 0.138 fck bd square. Now what is the depth? What is the effective depth? You can, if you, from this equation if you write, it becomes mu limit root over mu limit by 0.138 fck b, right? Now the thing is, we need to find out what is the d for this particular moment. The moment value was something 131, right? So you put the value of mu here. In place of mu limit, you put the value of mu that you have just calculated. Mu 0.138, fck value you already know, m35, b value you already know, b is 350, sorry 300, b is 300 mm, fck is 35 Newton per mm square, fck is 35 Newton per mm square, b is 300 mm, mu is 131 point something, right? This mu value, let's see what is the mu value. It is 131.625. Yes, you put the value of 131.625, and after that you can calculate the d value. D is found out to be 301.394 mm. Now you can see that which is less than 544. We have assumed the effective is 544 mm, and D required is 301.39 mm. So definitely D assumed is more than D required. That means whatever we have assumed, that is okay. It has passed the test. It is more than this. If the defective depth, if you consider the condition of max mu limit, in that case it is coming 301, so it is definitely less than what we have assumed, so it has passed the test. But the thing is, you can see that while assuming that 600 mm or 544 effective depth, we have just used a empirical equation, but this it's an equation that has been derived from actually after calculating or considering the stress block and all, right? So this is more accurate. Okay, but this is just kind of a probabilistic consideration, or just an imaginary consideration of the depth. So here you can see that it is the difference is very high. It requires 301 and we are providing around 544, so around 200 mm more or 250 mm excess of depth we are assuming. Okay, so it might leads to uneconomical design. So remember, as an engineer you have to take care of the economy also, because you cannot construct with the fear of having or trying to make it very durable. You might construct something which is have a very large depth, very large width, but the case is it comes with a cost, and that is not an engineering if your structure is very costly. Okay, so you have to economize the things. So that means here you can see the required is 301 and you are providing 544, which is very uneconomic because you are providing around 200 250 mm extra. So you have to, you can avoid that. So how? So we can reassume. So let us assume our overall depth as 400 mm. Just looking at this, okay, this 400 mm, how we have taken, just looking at this, so we need 4301. So let us assume that overall depth is 400. Then from the overall depth you subtract the effective cover, then you will get the effective depth. Okay, so effective cover is 40 mm minus 8 minus 20. So now let us assume that the depth or the dia of main bar be 20 mm. Okay, let's change that. Let's change it. You can, you, if you want, you might not want to change it also, it's up to you. Okay, so suppose I would like to change it. Suppose I would like to change it to 20 mm because I'm reducing the depth, so there is a probability that still will be required, still will be more. So that is why I thought like we should change the diameter from 16 to 20 mm. Okay, in reality probably in actual structures, in actual beams, 20 mm is very rarely used in buildings. Normal, say G or G plus 1 structure in beams is very rarely used. Basically 16 mm bar is found to be sufficient. But suppose for this case I just change it to make you aware that we can change it at any stage. Okay, so you can, if you want, you can take it to 16 mm also, it's up to you. So for me, I have assumed it to be 20 mm. I have just assumed that overall depth is 400 mm and the main dia is as 20 mm bars. Okay, now what will be the effective cover? Effective clear cover is 40 mm, stirrup size is 8 mm, and the main dia bar is 20, so 20 by 2 it becomes the effective cover. So D, that is 400 minus effective cover, will give you the effective depth. It becomes 342 mm. You can see now, as we have assumed the effect overall depth as 400 mm, the effective depth becomes 342, which is more than the effective depth required, that is 301.39. It is more than this, but the difference is also very limited. It's only say 40 mm difference, so it becomes, it will economical. Okay, but the thing is there is always a risk. As I have reduced this, because I have lot more conditions that I have to satisfy, though I have changed it, so there is always a risk that this might fail, because the designing is not only based on only one criteria, it depends on many criteria. So if the depth is more, obviously it will be in the safer side. Always you can say that it is going to be safe in all our criteria, on all the other criterias, but it will not be economical. So as an engineer you should always, though it becomes well, if it fails at the later stage, you might need to again revisit and redesign from the first step. But the thing is, in that case you are making something which is economical. Okay, though it might take time, you will come up with a better section. So though I have changed it, there is always a risk that is also might fail. Okay, so with taking that risk, so we have reduced this as 400 mm looking at this value, and we have assumed that effective depth is suppose 342 for this assumed 400 mm overall depth, and it is that it should be more than this D required. Okay, it should be always more than the required, it cannot be less than the required. Okay, if it is, if I find that this is 300 or 290, then it will not be acceptable. Okay, it will fail. If you found that this D, suppose this D is, suppose in our calculation we got that this is a 700 mm, suppose, and we have assumed previously, we have assumed it to be 600 mm, right? Or effective depth we have assumed to be 544 mm, and which is here the D required becomes more than the D provided. In that case you might have to increase the depth. But for this case, for this particular case, we found that which is less than the available, what we have provided, so it is okay. But looking at the economic perspective, we have reduced it. Okay, this step you can neglect it also, but but it is always better if you can make something which is very economical. Okay, now let's go to the later stages of our design. Now let us now calculate the amount of steel. So the first step we have just check whether the effective rate is okay. Now we will go for calculation of the steel. So this particular equation, mu is equal to 0.87 Fy into AST whole into 1 minus AST Fy by FCK BD into D. This equation you are going to use for calculation of the steel. This equation also you can get in NXZ of IS 456. This equation you will also get in NXZ. So you already see that the mu that we have assumed is 131.625. So one thing that you can ask that initially we have the dimension or the B as 300 and overall depth as 600 mm. Now we have changed it to B is equal to 300 to D is equal to 400 mm, right? So definitely in this case the self weight will be less what we have calculated, but this value that we are taking from the previous one, that is corresponding to this one. So but here the self weight is more, but here obviously the self weight will reduce, right? This or mu value will reduce if I consider this self weight, because as the dimension is reduced. But the thing is, there is no harm if you are designing with a higher value, because it will definitely, if you are going, if it is safe, then obviously it will be safe for the smaller dimension. Okay, so there is no harm. So definitely we are going to check it later on, but for this stage you just assume whatever moment that you have assumed already. Okay, so always try to design in every step, try to be in a safer side. So you think that whether whatever considering we value we are considering, whether that will be that whether that will make my structure safer or weaker, whether it will make our structure safer or vulnerable. So if I consider this higher value, then I will be in a safer side. If I reduce this value, suppose instead of 130 I take is 120, then I will be in the vulnerable side, because this is not the design moment, this is the design moment. So take some higher value, always try to take some higher values. So this is this is the moment that we are taking 131, and this is the equation for finding out the steel. Okay, you can you can find this particular equation in NXZ. Now if you simplify, because if you see that if you simplify, then it will be a quadratic equation of AST square. So if you simplify the AST required equation, this equation can be rewritten as FCKBD whole into 1 minus root over 1 minus 4.598 mu by FCKBD square by 2 Fy. So I would suggest that you remember this equation. This equation is not in IS code. This is just a derivation from this particular equation. You can derive it by yourself. But the thing is, if you remember this equation, while you will be solving this problem in the exam, it will become very fast, because in this case you have to write the equation, you have to solve the equation, and all those things you have to do. But if you know this equation, you just put the value and you will find the value. So this equation you remember. Okay, so if I put the value mu as this value, B as 300, D as 344. Now we have changed it, it will be 344. Sorry, is it 344? Let's see again. No, it is 342. 342. The D is 342. The D value is 342 here. D is 342. B is 300. Mu is this value. Then Fy is 415. FCK is 35. B is 300. D is 342. So this value put, you will find out that AST required is this much, which is, that means 1245 mm square. This much of area of steel you have to provide. This is the required area. This is AST required. So it is written as AST required. So this is the required steel to take care of this particular moment. This much of area should be provided. Okay, so now what will be the how many numbers of bars are required. So we have assumed that 20 bars are there, right? So now how many numbers of bars are required? AST required divided by area of the bar. The area of the bar is how much? If this is the diameter, so area of the bar is 3.14 pi d square. D is 20, pi d square by 4. So if you, this is the area, cross section area of one bar, 120 torr bar. Okay, this is the cross sectional area of 120 torr bar. So if I divide the total area required by the area of 120 bar, it comes to be 3.966, so which is equal to 4. Always remember, whatever value you get, suppose you are getting 3.125, in that case also you take 4. Always take the larger value, because this much of bar you cannot provide, whether you will it should be an integer, whether you are providing 1 bar, 2 bar or 3 bar. You cannot provide 1.5 bar or 1.75 numbers of bars, you cannot provide. So always take the higher end. Okay, it is, if suppose this value you found out to be 3.125, then also you have to take 4 numbers of bars. Okay, as we are getting a 3.966, so we are going for 4 numbers of bars. So see, this is what we required. This is numbers of 4 numbers of bars we have provided. So what is written here? So let us consider 4 numbers of 20 bars. So what is the AST provided? This is AST required, but this is what is the steel provided. It is area of the of one bar into number of bars, it is 4. The AST provided is found to be 1256 square. This much of area we have provided. Okay, so that means for in a lump sum case, we can say that in this particular beam we have 4 numbers of 20 bars. Just putting, and the and what is the location? The center should be at the distance of effective cover from the base of the, or the soffit of the beam. Okay, now the next step is the detailing. Now we have to see what whether it is a detailed structure or not. One thing, okay, now the detailing means how to arrange these bars, how to arrange these bars. So for this, you can, for this we have to check whether the amount of bar that we have provided, this is the AST provided, right? This is the AST. So whatever we have provided, whether it is more than the minimum bar required, or whether it is less than the maximum bar required. So it should be in between minimum and maximum. So there are some provisions in the IS code which dictates what is the minimum amount of bar and what is the maximum amount of bar. So for this you can refer to clause 26.5. It is for requirement of reinforcement for structural members. For beams, tension reinforcement, so whatever we are calculating, these are tension reinforcement, it's not in compression. We will be providing this reinforcement at the tension zone, so where there will be tension. So the minimum reinforcement criteria says that the minimum area of the reinforcement shall not be less than the given by the following: AS by BD is equal to 0.85 by Fy. So definitely AS is the steel, B is the width, D is the effective depth, Fy is the grade of the steel or the yield strength of the steel. Now from this equation, if you find out AS minimum, what is the area of steel, minimum area of steel should be required, that if you put the values, this equation, you will get 1.97.78 mm. So this is the minimum steel that you have to provide for this particular beam. Okay, definitely we are providing more than this, so we are in okay, this condition is okay, right? Now what is the maximum bars? So maximum bar, the same clause tells you the maximum reinforcement should be 0.04 BD or 4.4% of BD. So whatever is the actual cross section of the beam, whatever cross area of cross section, you take the 0.4% of that beam, that is the maximum reinforcement that you are going to provide. Okay, the maximum reinforcement becomes 0.04 into BD. Here you can see it is capital D, so it will be overall depth. It is small d, then it becomes effective depth. So overall depth is 450, so 300 into 450 into 0.04, so it becomes 5.4 into 10 to the power 3 mm square, or it is 5400 mm square. So we are providing 1.256, so obviously it is more than 190. Sorry, let me write it properly. It is more than 197 and is less than 5400. So it is, oh, sorry, I think I have mentioned it as 0.4%. It should be 4%, right? 4% of the gross cross section area. Now we have to also take care of the spacing, because the spacing is very important. If you think about this, suppose you have a if you have a beam. So I think you have seen how beams are casted. So if the reinforcements are very close to each other, what will happen? When you will pour concrete, the aggregates will not pass through. Sorry, let me show a different color. So the aggregate will not pass through, right? So here only water will be there, or only slurry will be there. So the distribution of the concrete will not be uniform, so it will be in the weaker section, right? So that is a problem. And if the spacing is very large, suppose the condition is something like this is the beam and you have only provided suppose one bar, so is it acceptable? No, it is not acceptable. There is provision, like in case of beam, there should be minimum 4 numbers of bars. This is the minimum requirement. 4 numbers of bars is minimum, and the spacing should not be more than 300 mm, because it has been said that if it is more than 300 mm, that concrete, the effect of reinforcement will not be there in the concrete. Okay, so for the case of spacing, we can refer to the clause 26.3.2, which talks about the minimum distance between individual bars. Okay, the minimum distance between individual bars. The following shall apply for spacing of bars. Okay, the horizontal distance between two parallel main reinforcement bars shall usually not less than the greatest of the following: the diameter of the bar if diameters are equal, diameter of the larger bar if the diameters are unequal, and 5 mm more than the nominal maximum size of the coarse aggregate. So I think you have in mixed design, you have heard about this term, nominal nominal size of aggregate. Nominal size of aggregate, you have used 20 mm, or 20 mm down, 10 mm down, 30 mm down, this kind of things you have used. So whatever nominal grade of aggregate you have used, so the diameter, the spacing should be more than 5 mm. If you are using 20 mm nominal size, then 20 plus 5, it becomes 25. Okay, something like this. So from this you can see that all the bars are of same diameter. So we have the diameter of the bar, that is 16, sorry, it should be 20 mm. This should be 20 mm, and this condition is not there for us because all the diameter bars are same. Suppose you have 16 mm bar as well as 20 mm bars. Okay, we have 16 torr bar as well as 20 torr bar. So in that case you should have taken 20. Suppose it is, or we have also 25 torr bar. In that case we will be taking 25, the maximum bar diameter you have to use. Then the spacing, considering the nominal grade, that is, if suppose generally we have used 20 mm down plus 5 mm extra, so it becomes 25 mm. So out of this two, the spacing should not be less than the greatest of this following. That means the greatest is 25, so whatever spacing that we will providing, it should not be less than 25 mm. This is as per the code. So the spacing we can calculate. Now for the calculation of the spacing, you just assume the section. Let me see whether the section drawing is here. No, probably. So let me show you. So this is the beam. So these are the reinforcement, right? Okay, we have another reinforcement. 4 numbers of reinforcements are there. So this is the case. Now we need to calculate this distance. This is the spacing. This is S. This clear distance is S. Okay. So how to calculate that? The overall distance is 300 mm, right? Then what is this clear cover? This is 40 mm from both the side. And what is the diameter of the bar? This is 20 mm. So if I subtract from 300 minus 240 mm, that is 2 into 40 mm, so I will get, subtract this, then I will get with this distance from here to here, this distance I will get, then I will subtract the diameter of the bars, that is we have 4 numbers of bars of 20 mm, then we will get this spacing, this the total area without the reinforcement and the clear cover, divided by the spacing, that is if the 4 numbers of bar, the gap will be 3, so 4 minus 1. So this will give you the spacing between the clear spacing between the bars. Okay, so this has been, this same equation has been used here. You can see 300 minus 2 into 40 plus 8, oh sorry, 8 is for 8 is here for the stirrups, so I have not drawn the 8, the stirrup we have not drawn, so you just, the stirrup is also there, clear cover plus this is the clear cover, this is the stirrup diameter, then that will be subtracted, as well as the diameter of the each bar, there is 4 numbers of bars, so that will be subtracted, then that will, the whatever finally we'll get, that will be the area of concrete that remains after subtracting the clear cover, the stirrup, as well as the diameter of the bar, divided by the how many numbers of spaces are available between the bars. So we have 4 numbers of bars, so 4 minus 1, that will be 3, and the spacing found out to be 41.33, and it has been found that this 41.33 is definitely more than 25 mm, the greatest of these two, right? Maximum of these two is 25 mm. So 41.33 is more than 45 mm, so it is okay. So this particular clause is cleared. Okay, this particular clause is cleared. So there is in the same clause you can find out some other clauses also, other points also. So it has like greater horizontal distance and the maximum specified should be provided wherever possible. However, when needle vibrators are used, the horizontal distance between bars may be reduced to 2/3 of the nominal maximum size of the coarse aggregate, provided that sufficient space is left between the groups of bar to enable the vibrator to emerge. So basically, the spacing between the bars we show that the concrete gets evenly distributed. And there is another thing is that in certain cases what happens, that in case of the beam, if the suppose the load is very high and we need to provide more numbers of bars, in certain cases we provide the bars in 2 layers. This kind of cases might occur. Then this spacing you have understood as per the diameter as well as the nominal aggregate size, but this distance, what is about this distance, this vertical distance, this should be that the distance between the bars shall be 15 mm, 2/3 of the nominal maximum size of the aggregate or the maximum size of the bar, whichever is greater. So this vertical distance should be taken care of by this particular portion. Okay, so in this problem we do not have this case, but in certain cases you might encounter this problem. In that case, this should be the vertical distance. You find out the for all these three, that is 15 mm for one case, second case is 2/3 of the nominal maximum size aggregate, second case, and third case maximum size of the bar. Out of this three, whatever uh, the minimum distance should be the greatest of these three. So whatever greatest value will get, so you have to provide more than that. Okay, so this is as per the detailing part. Now we can go for the check for strength. So check for strength, that means I have already told you that initially the moment that we have calculated for the width of 300 and depth of 600 mm, but later on we have changed the depth to 450 mm. So oh sorry, it's not 450, it's 400. Okay, probably I think one thing I have to see, somewhere I have mentioned as 450. These we have assumed 400. So yes, here I've used 450. It should be 400, but still it is okay because this is 4800, and which is still more than this maximum value is more than whatever we have provided. So now it is okay. So we have used 400. Now we are going to check whether our the design is safe with this revised moment. So we'll revise the small moment. So dead load, just like previous one, this is a self weight 25 into b into d is here 400 mm, and dead load is 5, so it total dead load becomes 8 kilonewton, and live load is 10. So 1.5 dead load plus 1.5 live load is 27, and the moment becomes 121. See, initially it was 131 and now it is 121. So because of self weight we have reduced the moment quite a bit. Now the moment of resistance means what is the whatever beam section that we have assumed, that is width of 300, depth of 400, with four numbers of 20 mm bars. How much of moment it can take, that can be find out from this equation, same equation basically. So what is, you have to provide AST provided, because we have provided how much, four numbers of 20 mm bars. So AST provided, you put the values in the same equation, you can find out the moment of resistance as 131, and which is greater than 121, so it is okay, it is found to be safe. Okay, now another check you have to do is the check for deflection. So check for deflection, already I have shown you this particular clause 23.2.1, and it will tells you about the span to depth ratio 7, 20 and 26 for cantilever, semicircular and continuous bar respectively up to a span of 10 meters. If the span is more than 10 meter, what will happen in that case, the values, the 7, 20 and 26 may be multiplied by 10 by span in meters, except for cantilevers, in which case deflection calculation should be made. Except for cantilever, other cases we can do what, 10 by span, and we can multiply these values with this particular coefficient, and that modified coefficients can be used to find out the to take care of the deflection limits. So another clause that's mentioned is C. Depending upon the area of the stress of the steel of tension reinforcement, the values of A and B shall be modified. So depending upon the area of the steel in the tension reinforcement, you can modify this value 7, 20 and 26 as per figure 4. So this is the figure 4. So figure 4 gives you depending upon the tension. That means the idea is if you give some reinforcement, so it will reduce the deflection. So depending upon the amount of steel that you have provided, you can reduce the deflection. So here this from this figure you can find out by which factors, and these factors this values span by effective depth values can be changed. So this can be find out from this. So for before that you have to find out what is fs. Fs is given by, this is the percentage tension reinforcement, this is the curve for fs, and this is the modification factor. Then fs is 0.85 fy, area of the cross section of the steel required. What is the required and what is provided? So required we have calculated, and provided what, 420 mm bars. So if you do the calculation, all the values we have already calculated, so we can find out what is the AST required, what is the AST provided into 0.58 into F5, it is 238. So you can see there is no graph for 238, so it will be in between 190 and 240, right? And also you have to find out what is the percentage of tension reinforcement. So percentage of tension reinforcement you can find out PT AST provided by the BD into 100, that is 1.22%. okay, this is 1.22%. so if you refer to the graph, 1.22% will be somewhere here, very close to this. So it will be, it will going up straight. So it will be in between 90 and 240. It is 238, so it is more close to 240. And if you see, it will be somewhere here probably, right? So you can assume it to be 1, or suppose 0.9. So let us assume that the value is 0.9. So this modification factor is 0.9. And also also there is another, depending upon the area of the compression reinforcement also we can modify. That is another figure 5. But the design that we are making, we have only tension steel. Okay, we are assuming we are designing a singly reinforced beam. That means reinforcements are only in one side, there is no, or the reinforcements are provided in the tension side, there is no reinforcement in the compression side. So this particular thing is not there. In while you'll be designing doubly reinforced, this condition you can refer. So now, just now we have found out the modification factor is 0.9. So though I have mentioned it here as a singly reinforced beam, compression steel are not there, so Kc is equal to 1. So from figure 5, so for 0%, so it is 1. So the span to effective depth ratio, it becomes 20 into 0.9 into 1, so it is 18. So LCC by D is come out to be 17.54. This is clear cover by effective depth. Clear span by effective depth, it becomes 17.55, and which is less than 18, which is the modified value. So it is okay. Now you can see here, with the distribution or the actual drawing of cross section of the beam at the center, or at the mid span. So at the mid span we need 4, because this moment, whatever moment we are calculating at the mid span, at the mid span. So this is 420 mm bars at the bottom, and 210 mm. This is only for holding bars. Okay, we have not designed for it, it's just providing for holding purpose of the stirrups. The stirrup designing also we have not done. For now we are just only assuming that we have 8 tor bars. So what is the center of the center to center spacing of the bar, we have not calculated, but for now we are sure about this is the 420 mm bars, and the dimension, that is 300 mm width, and depth is 400 mm. This is the effective cover, that is 58, and this is the effective depth for 342. Okay, so in the exam also you have to draw this, properly draw the cross section of the beam that you have designed. And now also we are going to check for the section whether it is under reinforced and over reinforced. So for that you can find out the depth of the neutral axis. This equation you can find out, I have already discussed this equation. Also you can find out this equation in NX Z, NX of IS456. So XU by D value is 0.87 FIST by 0.36 FCKBD. So if you put the values of the FIAST provided, as well as grade of steel, the width and the depth, you get a value of 0.351. okay, and the limit XU by D limit is 0.48 for Fe415. So as you can see that for this particular section, the XU by D value is less then XU limit, so it is okay. So what does it mean? Basically, the stress diagram is something like this. The stress diagram, let me draw it properly. The stress diagram is over here. So the neutral axis, XU limit by D, if you do that, you will get it as 0.48, right? And for our case, the XU by D, we are getting at 0.351. So that means the stress in steel will be more than concrete, so it is a condition for under reinforced section, right? So where the steel yields first before the concrete, so this is a condition for under reinforced section. So as this is found that XU by D limit is more than the XU by D, but actually the structure has, so this is an under reinforced section, so this condition is also satisfied. So with this you can say that we are done with the design for flexor. Okay, so in the next class we'll be discussing about curtailment of bars, because in certain cases what happened, you have seen that the BMD is something like this, right? The maximum BMD at the center, but though we are at this position we need 420 tall bars, it is right, it is fine, but as you go to near to the support, this is a support, we have the support, the moments are less, so here four numbers of bars are not required. If you want to economize, you can reduce the bar, or you can curtail certain portion of bar at certain location where that much of reinforcement is not required. So at certain distance, suppose here we can reduce the bar to 220 tall bar. So we have to see at what distance we can do this, at what distance we can reduce 4 bars to 2 numbers of bars we can curtail. These things we are going to discuss in the next class.